Welcome. Welcome to the NexGen show. This is the show where we talk to young people and ask them about their aspirations and their experiences and their expectations as they move up in the industry. Today we have with us Mia Goh, and she's a writer. And Mia, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Okay, you were a graphic designer and then you went on to writing. Tell us about your experience, your journey so far.
So when I was younger, I always thought I wanted to be an artist or a fine artist. So I went to a really cool high school where we actually had graphic design as a program. So from ages 16 to 17, I was in graphic design and we had full-on projects. We had to do vivas. We even had sort of like workshops, presentations, and we would even have to start a small brand and market ourselves. Yeah, so that was me ages 16 to 17, and I thought, okay, I'm going to continue being a graphic designer. So I started surveying universities and all that, and I had good grades. And I think there was one university where it really hit me. The guy looked at my grades and said, "Why do you want to do graphic design?" And I said, because it's something I enjoy. Then he said, with your grades, you can do anything, you know. And I was looking forward to a scholarship as well. And he told me his experience. He said, I was a graphic designer. It's not always easy. It's not always about you getting to create art that you want to create. And he just told me, give it a thought. And this is a counselor who's supposed to, you know, get me on board to sign up for this university. So yeah, I thought over it and I got a bit worried. Then I found a program called Advertising and Design. But prior to that, I needed to take a foundation. So I did a media studies foundation just to explore a little bit of everything. So it was PR, journalism, advertising, and then, of course, a lot of design. But as I furthered my studies even more and got excited about design, I kept thinking, I don't know if I can turn what I love so much into a career. Because I don't want...
Oh, you remembered what the
Not only that, but I realized that, you know, I'll be creating art in my own time, but in the service industry, that's not something I'm going to get to do, which made me a bit sad because I was thinking, am I still going to maintain my craft? Will I have enough time to do that? But I fell in love with advertising still, and I knew I wanted to find my place in it. So I thought, okay, maybe become a planner, strategy. And copywriting was something, you know, when you're young, you don't really understand what copywriting is.
you copy what other people write.
Exactly. So I didn't really understand it at first. And I decided, you know what, let's just try this during my internship. And I just fell in love. So my mom always asked me when it comes to your career, or she just sat me down one day and she's like, what's something you could do any day and never get tired of? If there's something you could do, okay, doesn't have to be a real job. And I said, I want to be a student forever. I want to be able to learn forever. And I think that's what copywriting has allowed me to do, because markets are ever changing. There's always something new to learn, and it's rapid. And I don't know, just being able to look forward to something new every day, whether it's about a brand or a type of target audience. Yeah.
You're spot on when you say that writing is, especially copywriting, you are a student, actually, a student of life, student of trends.
Yes, yeah.
You have to be self-motivated.
Yeah. I will never know it all, and that's fine.
Yeah. You know, I'm a writer myself, and I taught copywriting to many students in the past. And I always say that it's a lonely job, actually. You know, you're sitting there, you're looking at the computer, but it is at the same time an adventure. Because if you got all these words in your head, you're actually swimming in this reservoir of words, all trapped in your own universe. I find that if someone enjoys that space, that person has a huge potential.
Inversely, I don't find it to be a lonely job because I'm a copywriter, because I want to understand and connect with human beings, know about nuances that AI cannot replicate sometimes. I go out and I talk. And I wasn't always someone who was extrovert. I'm actually very introverted. I'm observant, but becoming a writer has just changed the perspective on everything for me. I really enjoy talking to people, and it sounds a bit sad, sometimes when I'm talking to someone, I'm thinking, market research. But beyond that, I'm just connecting, and I try to apply that to my work as well. Even though I'm behind the laptop, I'm writing for a certain brand, but I'm just connecting. So it's not so much about selling what the brand has to offer to the person, but sometimes I have to sell what that person needs to the brand and convince them that this is how we should talk to them,
Yes. Very well said. Very well said.
Thank you.
And unlike other writers, copywriters have to distill into a few words or phrases.
Yes. Okay, so I actually started as a long-form writer when I enjoyed writing long-form.
Okay.
Yeah. And when it came into copywriting, I was like, wow, every time you hear this comment, shorter. But I think someone once told me something which I really agree with. Good copywriting is good thinking. As long as you know how to talk, right? Like how you talk. And it becomes a practice, and I honestly think it's something anyone can pick up. It is, but I think there's this misconception that, if I'm a writer, I have a huge vocabulary, I speak really good English, use jargons. No, not really. This is how I talk, and this is how I intend to write. And, you can use all sorts of, punctuations to make it sound like how you talk. The M-dash is a wonderful thing.
Oh my God, I can go on and on about the writing also myself. Tell us about an experience, without mentioning any brand name, whereby you really enjoyed the writing journey, and also talk a little bit about, in that instance, about the client and what motivated you and helped you along the way.
One I can think of was actually my first manifesto. So when writing my first manifesto, my boss told me to just go ham with it, try on the first round. And I think at that time, I didn't understand much about my ego. So as a writer, you're thinking, okay, if I get this job, I'm going to write it the way I want to write it. And obviously that first round, it wouldn't fly with the client. And then that's when you have to activate your listening skills and understand.
This manifesto was for the brand?
For the brand.
Okay.
Yeah, they were about to do a launch. So it was a completely new brand.
Okay.
And writing a manifesto for something that has never launched, that is going to be their essence, It wasn't just a campaign, it was a proper launch. But yeah, so you activate your listening skills. And then I realized that, okay, my client is also my audience now, because it's a launch, so I'm going to write something that resonates to them, but then I'm also their target audience. So the tone that I write in has to also resonate with me. And it was just very interesting trying to marry that. But yeah, I really enjoyed working on that. I think it's one of the craziest things I've ever done. I got the privilege to actually even write the short scripts after that. A lot of fun. So it was a very small job, but that's something I'm proud of, and I've done other bigger jobs, but ego thing, we're not always proud of what we do. Sometimes it's nibbled to death, and it doesn't become what you initially wanted it to be, right?
Yes.
But with that one, I can safely say, for a start, I was very pleased. It was a good stepping stone on to better, hopefully.
Happy client?
Happy client, yeah. They were quite pleased. It took a bit of convincing as well, but it was important that they were reassured by me that I did understand what they want and I hear them. And yeah, that's important. It's not just communication with my target audience, it's a communication with my client. Even though I'm just the writer, I have to understand what they want. We are still a service industry. I can create art in my own time. I can write poetry in my own time. This is for them. So ultimately, it's still that.
Brilliant. I want to pick up on something you just said, which is you're also the target audience.
I am.
I think that is a very insightful way of looking at, especially when you want to sell, to a client. I've been in a new business presentation once, and I always felt that this was a very good opener when you tell the client that I'm your customer. It just like sobers everybody down, that instead of being the interrogator or, trying to pick on, when they're reviewing your presentation, they always play policeman and all this kind of thing. Suddenly they realize, that is my customer actually who's presenting. It really humbles them into... So I really can relate what you said just now. When you think of yourself as a customer, as their customer, it grounds everything down.
I always say this first. I actually am consumer first. I was consumer from the start before I even came in here. But that's the thing, sometimes being Gen Z and everyone wants to target Gen Z, you have to also watch your ego again, being a target audience, because I could go into that presentation and say, look, I am your target audience, but let's be honest, Gen Z is so niche. There's so many subcultures.
Yes.
And I'm not a know-it-all. I don't actually know much about my generation than I thought I did. So what I would say instead is, I know your target audience. I relate to them on some level. Because I'm not always exactly their target audience. For example, if someone were to do sports bets, I don't play sports at all. But I can at least understand on an emotional level,
Very good, very good, very good. So where do you see yourself moving forward now that you are in the slave pit of advertising?
I don't see that. I mean, I'm sure you can sense that I'm very passionate and hungry.
Yes, of
I
course.
do not see that burning out anytime soon. Full steam ahead. Hopefully some metal here and there. Eventually. But yeah, I'm still a junior writer. But hoping to climb that next step soon.
But if you frame your mindset as a student, I feel that there's no limit lah.
Yeah.
Has anybody given you any advice that you felt was wrong or too harsh for you to handle? Some people just always telling you what is right and what is wrong.
I think harsh is subjective, because harsh sometimes can just mean it's uncomfortable advice, but it doesn't intend to knock you down. I think one common one that I heard while I was studying, even from my parents, honestly, it's you either have it or you don't. And I used to think, wow, does that mean I either have the craft or the talent or I don't? But actually, it's not that. It's the grit to be able to continue and want to do better, because, you get burnt out sometimes. But yeah, that whole you either have it or you don't, I realized that it's something people can pick up and learn. So it's not really you have it or you don't. You can learn how to have it.
Has your mom sat you down recently and given you some advice?
She is actually my rock. So she knows a lot about the industry, and I asked her for advice, but she knows well enough to not overstep into my creativity or to not block it. So she'll give certain advice like, okay, this is my experience, maybe you want to try that. But yeah, she's always telling me to take it easy, because I do go home late. Even yesterday I was staying up writing copy, because sometimes you can't write when people are around you. You just need that 2 a.m. silence to really think, and that's the best time that I can spit things out. But no, I would say she's really supportive, and she can see that I'm very fierce.
Very good.
So she's okay with it.
Very good. Do you like to write long copy, short copy?
So personally, I always liked long form. Okay, but that is when it comes with ideas of my own, stories. Now I feel I'm somewhat conditioned that if a client were to ask me something, or say to write a CI, I would keep it as straight to the point as possible. No grandfather stories, only because I'm quite conditioned to do that. Even if they wanted me to go long, then there would be more meat, more substance, as opposed to when I used to write long form in university or whatever. It's just a lot of, beating around the bush, if I'm being honest, just to make a sentence look pretty and to really give all that feeling. But with clients, you don't always need to do that. Sometimes one right word or the shorter the copy, it just hits.
Of course. In fact, I don't know how copywriters get away with it, They start sentences with the word "and" or the word, or the word "but."
Yeah, I just did that yesterday.
if sometimes, shall we say purists, language purists, will say, this is not a right way to...
correct, yeah.
But then, like you said, we are actually writing like we are talking to the consumer.
Exactly.
So the last work.
Correct. And like the punctuations, even if it's a full stop and then suddenly end, that is how they will read it.
That's how they will pause. Yes,
yeah. So
yes,
every time we write something, I have to read it 10 times myself in 10 different voices.
I used to write with the picture in front of me also.
Oh.
Like I'm talking to the person. This has been very interesting. And I can relate to a lot of things that you're saying. I wish you well. You're definitely on the right path.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. I look forward to more exciting things from you. Yeah. And I look forward to seeing you shine. Yeah, because that will bring immense credibility to copywriters in general.
Yes.
You know? So thank you,
Thank
Mia.
you so much.
Really appreciate it.
You.
Yeah. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of another episode of in the NexGen series, and we were talking to Mia Goh. Till the next episode, thank you.